What's up YouTube and welcome to my review of the first season of Fire Force. Today I want to talk about why this anime is so good and why I like it so much. From its mystery, world building, characters, animations, sound designs, music and the deeper archetypes behind the cast. Okay, so let's get started, and before we start I just want to mention that this will contain major spoilers of the whole series. So let's just take a quick recap. Fire Force takes place in Tokyo, in a world that was almost destroyed by a massive catastrophe around 250 years ago. Humanity managed to rebuild itself, but it's still shaped by the consequences of the disaster. The main mystery of the series is spontaneous human combustion. So basically that means random people suddenly catch fire, turn into flame demons called infernals, and they lose control over themselves. This is where the special force, Fire Force, comes in. The job is to put these infernals to rest and protect society from fire-related disasters. And we follow in the story the protagonist, Shinra Kusakabe, a third generation pyrokinetic who can create and control flames shooting from his feet, which I love. I think his fighting style is so cool. It's basically like a bit capoeira from that Brazil Jiu-Jitsu shit. So basically he can shoot fire from his feet and use it to move at incredible speed and use incredible force with it and just damage his opponents really hard. Okay, so let's get starting with the first episode. The first episode starts with an accident on a train, where a normal person suddenly bursts into flames and becomes an infernal Shinra helps defeat him, and after that he officially begins his journey with the Special Fire Force Company 8. Company 8 is one of the best parts of the season. Every member brings something different to the group. Let's talk about the first member and one of the most important. So there's Commander Obi, the heart of the unit basically, and he is someone who deeply cares about saving people. He loves his unit so much. I just love his chemistry with all the other characters, and he's just such a good father figure for Shinra and all the others. I would like to have a friend like him. Then there's Hinawa, the more serious and disciplined captain who keeps everyone focused. There's Maki, she's a second generation fire user who can control existing flames, but she can't produce flames on her own because she's just from the second generation and not third. Then there's Sister Iris, I love her too, she's just so cute and wholesome. She performs prayers so the infernals can rest in peace. And then there's Arthur Boyle, my favorite character in this series, and because he's my favorite character because he fully believes he's a knight and somehow makes the delusion work. So he believes that he's a knight, and the more he believes that he's in a knight scenario, the stronger he gets. Later then there joins a girl named Tamaki. She joins the 8th unit after being manipulated by Rekka from the first Fire Force Company. Kept to Rekka. Rekka is revealed to be connected to the White Clad, the main antagonist group of the season. Their goal is connected to the Great Cataclysm from 250 years ago. They want to recreate that world-ending event. Then we also get Vulcan Joseph, which I honestly don't like so much because I don't like his character. He is just a bit annoying and not so special. He only has a deep connection to Amaterasu, the giant power source that provides energy to Japan, or maybe even more of the world, though season 1 doesn't fully confirm how far its influence reaches. And then of course there's Shinra, the personal tragedy. Shinra as a child, his mother and his younger brother in a house fire. Everyone blamed him that he started the fire and that he killed his mother and brother, so they all called him Devil. And I love the nickname of Shinra because his nickname is Devil's Footprint, because always when he uses his ability, you see footprints, not always, but sometimes footprints of his feet, and they look like demon footprints, more like devil. The truth about this tragedy is far more complicated. That is just a harsh overview of the first season. Go to a point why the first season is so good, and that's because the mystery. The whole series has this strange but comfortable vibe. A lot of scenes happen during sunset, and it gives the show a warm but mysterious atmosphere. If you get me, when you see the sunset, everyone is getting a bit chill, the day is ending, you can finally rest at home, you're coming from work, the day is just ending you can chill. So that's just such a wholesome feeling. And at the same time, there's always been unsettling questions in the background. For example, why are people catching fire? And the deeper the story goes, the more we see that the Fire Force system itself might be corrupted. Most Fire Force companies, or basically units, are connected to the Holy Soul Temple, which is the main religion in the world of Fire Force. Before an infernal is destroyed, a sister usually has to say a prayer so the person can rest in peace. That detail makes the world feel different from other shonen anime, because fighting monsters, it's not just action here, it's also treated like a religious ritual. And that's what I also like about the series. You get a religious touch in it, so it basically feels more like the human world. Then let's come to the Holy Soul Temple, where the Holy Soul Temple worships the sun, and its origin goes back to Raffles the First, who is major spoiler, who is just not a doppelganger, but yeah, fuck it, I will just review that one another time. He supposedly discovered the holy flame after the Great Cataclysm. With that flame, humanity was able to rebuild the world. But Season 1 makes it clear that we still don't know the full truth of this world. What really happened 250 years ago isn't Nostad except the Holy Church. But they won't tell, it's like the Vatican in order. So what is the real history of the Holy Soul Temple, and how much of what people believe is actually true? That mystery is one of the strongest parts of the season that I also love so much. Not just the first season, but like the whole series. Now let's talk about the music and the sound effects, because Fire Force honestly is on another level here. The music was composed by Kenichiro, sorry for the pronunciation, Suehiro, who also worked on series like Series Zero, Golden Kamuy, Goblin Slayer, and many more. That's just so I think everybody who watches anime knows the series. His soundtracks gives Fire Force a unique identity. My favorite track is probably Grey Waltz. It has this emotional, mysterious, and almost haunting feeling that fits the show perfectly, and it really plays like Misan said when it all gets like serious. The openings and the endings are also really amazing, especially the first opening, Inferno by Mr. Green Apple, which became incredibly popular and has tens of millions of views on YouTube. I think even 95 million, and I sometimes listen to it during sport, so I just love it. But one of the biggest things that people remember about Fire Force is the animation and sound effects. Especially the sound effects, they went viral on TikTok. The animation by David Production is not one of the best, but a really good one. The fights are fast, stylish, and full of impact, and I think the flames are animated so well, like they are just so dynamic and well colored. But what makes them even better is the sound design. The sound design, the fire blasts, explosions, impacts, and movement sounds are so heavy and satisfying. Just for Benimaru's shit he's doing there with this it's so crazy, I swear to God. Let's shout out to the sound director who is Jin Aketagawa. The sound effects were done by Yasumasa Koyama. And honestly, they deserve so much more credit, because the sound effects in Fire Force are just so iconic. They make every fight feel powerful. And just tell me one anime that has sound effects like this, or one series. I've never seen something like that. Let's talk about the characters. One thing I really like about Fire Force is that not every character, but most characters feel unique. They all have their own personality, their own motivations, and their own way of seeing the world. And what makes them interesting is that many of them fit classic archetypes, like described from Carl Gustav Jung. For example, Shinra is clearly the hero archetype. He wants to become a hero, save people, and prove that he's not the devil. everyone thought he was. His bravery and energy pushed the story forward. You can also describe Shinra as the everyman archetype. That is just described as deep down he just wants to be accepted after being traumatized by his past and being called a mother killer. Also in his school they all mobbed him because they thought he was a mother killer, and that really traumatized him, I think. So he wants also to belong somewhere, which is also a typical sign of every man archetype. So he joins the company 8, and that company gives him that place. Now let's go to the next archetype, the caregiver archetype. Commander Obi represents the archetype, not the best, but really good. He's driven by the desire to protect others. Even though he has no fire powers, he is still one of the strongest presences in the story because of his courage and hurt. See that very often in the series. He fights demons without powers and even wins against them, which Tamaki, for example, wouldn't even win against. We have Maki and Iris, also have a very strong caregiver energy. Maki wants to protect her friends and fight for others, while Iris brings a softer and more spiritual form of care through her prayers and kindness. So they basically just want to protect others and be safe. And that's just a caregiver archetype. Now let's come to Arthur Boyle. He's one of the most entertaining characters in this series, and he has one of the most iconic fights, but I'm not gonna spoil you that. I think his core archetype is also the hero, but in a very different way from Shinra. Arthur sees himself as a noble knight, so he's brave, quest-driven, and motivated by this grand fantasy of knighthood. But he has also elements to the jester archetype. By his imagination, he brings a lot of comedy and joy to the story. His delusionals are funny, but they also make him strong in a weird way. He's basically a fantasy knight trapped inside a firefight anime. So he just basically thinks he's a knight from a video game. Then we have Tamaki, the next one. She can be seen as the innocent archetype. She just wants to be safe, happy, and a place where she can belong. A bit like the everyman, but yeah, fuck that. After what happens with Rekka, from Company 8 becomes a safe space for her. So after Rekka she joins the Company 8 because she was suspended from the first one. But she's not just there for the comedy, she's also someone trying to recover from being used and manipulated by Rekka. Now let's come to Vulcan. He most likely fits the rebel archetype. He doesn't trust the Fire Force system. He refuses to join any company at first, but after that he joins the Unit 8. He has a strong desire to resist authority. His motivation is connected to his family, the truth behind Amaterasu. And basically his family built the Amaterasu and they all want to harvest but take advantage of his knowledge, but he doesn't want that. He wants to challenge the system rather than simply become part of it. Main physician in the 8th unit. And he fits both the sage and the magician archetype. He wants to understand the laws of the world, study the truth behind combustion, and uncover the hidden system controlling society. He's not just fighting physically, he's fighting through knowledge. You basically never see him fighting physically except for season 2 where he smacks down that one guy in that child laboratory. Now we come to Hibana. She's also interesting because she can be seen through the lover archetype, especially because she's really obsessed with Shinra and emotionally attached to him. But she has also the traits of the ruler because she wants control, status and power after she lost faith in the ideal she once believed in. So she's also a sadist, and that basically fits her archetype very well. Have Joker, a fan favorite. For Joker I would describe him as the trickster archetype, which I think was the main goal of the mangaka. Serious, sarcastic, unpredictable, and morally difficult to place. He doesn't move through the story like a normal hero or villain. He's more like a hero in the shadows. He instead appears from the shadows, and he disrupts the system, reveals hidden truths, and follows his agenda. You can also describe him as the rebel or shadow archetype. But Trickster fits him the best because he brings chaos and uncertainty from wherever he appears. Then we have the main antagonist group, the White Clad. He represents a darker kind of archetype. The evangelist or preacher can be seen as twisted creator or ruler archetype. She wants to reshape the world according to her own vision. So that's basically her goal. Her goal is not just destruction for no reason, it is creation through catastrophe. She wants a new world, but in the most extreme and terrifying way possibly. What makes Fire Force just so interesting? The characters are not just cool designs, powers, they all represent different ideas. Heroism, faith, rebellion, innocence, knowledge, control, chaos, and care. And even with all the supernatural elements, the characters will still feel human. I can believe that they would act the way they act. Their personalities are exaggerated, but their emotions make sense. So why is Fire Force Season 1 so good? For me, it's the combination of everything. The mystery is strong, the world building is unique, the Fire Force system feels corrupt and suspicious. The Holy Soul Temple adds a religious and philosophical layer, the animation is incredible, the sound effects are unforgettable. The music is amazing and the archetypes all have strong identities and the characters all have strong identities and archetypes. Season 1 does a great job of setting up the world and giving us enough answers to satisfy, while also leaving enough mystery to make us want more. It is really, I'm really honest now, it's not a perfect season. Some comedy moments can feel out of place or that's fan service, especially many people criticized that. But when Fire Force is at its best, it has a style and atmosphere that very few anime can match. Overall, I think Fire Force Season 1 is a strong introduction to a unique shonen world. It has great actions, interesting characters, beautiful animation, insane sound design, and mystery that keeps getting deeper. You can compare it a little bit to Attack on Titan, but Attack on Titan is like light years ahead of. I think Fire Force had a really big potential, but they just threw it away after Season 1. So that's basically my review of Fire Force Season 1. Let me know in the comments who your favorite character is, and for me it might have to be Arthur, because every time he's on screen he makes the show more entertaining. And if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Ciao guys!